All right, and welcome back to Theater Thursday with your host Hannah and special guest ChuBs. And we're back after a delay, but we're happy to be back because we love bringing entertainment to everyone. Today, going back, digging deep in the horror community, all the way back to 2010. The movie is called The Last Exorcism, and I had seen this one before, but I sprung it up on Miss Hannah, and we'll get into her thoughts in a second. But this one was a little special to me for a couple cool reasons. One, it was filmed right outside New Orleans and in a couple of places I've actually been to. And um, this is going to come back later, but the main character is wearing red Doc Martens, which is always a plus for me. And a quick note on that, the reason she wore the Doc Martens is because the insurance company wouldn't pay for her to go around barefoot if she got hurt. So they incorporated that into the movie. So there's your first fun fact of the movie. Now, in the movie, you have Ashley Bell playing the main character of Nell, and uh, this was her first movie, by the way. They in the movie it says Ivanville, Louisiana, but it was actually filmed in Slidell, Louisiana, which or some of it. And fun fact, my sister lives in Slidell, so kind of interesting. Um, Probably the most notable person in the movie for other people. Great. The brother in the movie is played by the character from X-Men First Class who played Banshee. If you remember that, he's not in the movie a lot, but he's got a big part in the trailer where he says, "What you got to do is go back down that road and go back down the way you came," and it's really interesting. But yeah, the the guy who played the dad, Cotton Marcus, character name. When I looked into it, he had done like he was on the show 24, and he did a lot of TV. Um, and then other than that, the brother was probably the most notable, but he wasn't in it all that much. But I think personally, the fact that this girl, Ashley Bell, who played Nell, her first movie, I think she knocked it out of the park. It was probably the best part of the whole movie. So overall, what were your first thoughts as you had just seen it for the first time?
Um, well, okay, well, do you want me to get into spoilers, or do you just want me to
Oh, we always spoil,
want to
so
talk
yes,
about my?
spoilers all the way.
Well, I guess it just threw me in a lot of different directions, really. At first, it seemed like, well, the pastor, like the main pastor, that he was like scamming people for money. He didn't even really believe in the stuff. He had like his little gimmicks and stuff. Uh, he had he had the fake cross or whatever with the smoke coming out, and he was just trying to. It looked like he just found like a good gig. Like and I think a lot of those ghost hunters do that too. I don't know if necessarily all of them
Oh,
believe
they
it.
do.
So they just found a good gig. So he's basically one of those kind of pastors, like TV type of guy, looking for some money. He didn't really. I don't even think he believed in God and stuff. He didn't believe in demonic possession at all. But he said it makes people feel better whenever I go in there and perform exorcisms. So, with this girl, it's like I got thrown in a few different directions. Like, I thought maybe she does just have mental problems, but then I was thinking maybe this is like demonic. Like it just that's where I feel like it's where they wanted the audience to be. They kind of made you try to think what's really going on, and then the dad seemed real weird. Like it seemed like he was
Yeah.
involved. Like at first, I thought maybe the dad was like abusing her and doing weird stuff. Uh, but it was pretty creepy overall. Like the end really threw me off too.
By the way, this is an Eli Roth movie, um, who's most people should know. Hostel, he did that, but I actually,
I can't do
re-
this.
yeah, like
This one was
dating.
good though, but Hostel's too much.
I actually really liked the fact that he was a fly by night fake exorcist person, but the stuff really happened, and he didn't run from it. He buckled down, and I think one, by the way, the girl did all the contortion herself,
Oh, really?
almost all of it. Yeah, she could do that in real life. So
Like crack
they
her neck and all that stuff.
they
Ooh.
added the cracks, but yeah, she could do the bending, and that's why the main photo is her bending backwards. But um, and she really climbed up on top of the dressers, and
Ooh.
most of you saw it. But to this day, and I saw it when it came out in 2010. The fact that at the end it's he all it is the preacher with his cross walking into the flame, like that
Mhm.
sticks in my mind. And yeah, they throw you for a loop. Like there's a cult that summons the demon Abal or Abal, whatever, I forgot how it's spelled. And yeah, you don't know if the dad's in on it. You don't know. I'm trying to, and they also film it. It is technically found footage, but it's
Mhm.
not shaky found footage. Like you
No,
feel
but
like you're watching.
it kind of had a real feel to it though.
Yeah,
At first I was like, is this a documentary? Like at first, like I didn't really
it
know.
it looks like there it's a document, and that's the way I think found footage should be. When they Blair Witch it in found footage, and it's shaky as hell, and you can barely see what's going on. This one didn't do that. It did it where it was a generic jump scare,
Mhm.
but when they go and like turn a corner and Nell is standing there just doing nothing, and you're like, oh, like that gets me every time. Like, and yeah, she'll jump out or whatever, but yeah, the the thing that I think they did well is they made you feel for the girl.
Yeah.
They made her religious, so it's like okay, like you can tell she's not trying to pull one over on anybody. The dad's unstable, and even though the preacher is fake, but he still is trying to help her because that's what it comes down to. Where him and his assistant just won't leave because they want to help her,
Mhm.
and then you get the famous barn scene. That's what most people know is they take her in the barn and she starts contorting. And um, now I'm gonna give an extra little spoiler because there is a sequel to this movie, Last Exorcism 2, and it's still set in New Orleans. Actually, it's in the city itself where she goes to a foster home type, well, not a foster home, it's a halfway house.
Mhm.
But in that one, the demon comes back, and so they really do a good job setting up where it's something about her, and in this one they give you the whole like her mom passed away, and they make it clear in the beginning like she's like my mom was my best friend, and so but then you don't know who's planting what in her head. Like
Mhm.
they stumble across the cult chanting around a fire, and then the dad makes it clear like I am going to shoot her if you can't help her. So
Yeah.
that's big tension, like where you're like, oh no, because we as the viewer, we know the girl's innocent. We just don't know how they're getting to her. But overall, you know, they took like I was telling you, there's so many Exorcist movies. Like that not too long ago, that was the trend where you get one a year. And after watching some, you get used to it. You're like, okay, And Emily Rose was a good one too, but you get the feeling of it. This one made like the Exorcist, the exorcism part, just the end, and the whole beginning 3/4 is what's wrong with the girl, what's going on, and it's a nice build up where it's not just scary scene and she's possessed the whole movie and she all this stuff. Like they made it worthwhile to me to build it up to the part where you know she's going crazy. I say crazy, she's going contorting and
Yeah.
speaking like that. And I will say this: in the second one, her friends, I say her friends, the house she lives in, they find video of the first movie. Like in that world, the documentary leaks, and
Mhm.
they're like, she goes, "What are y'all watching?" And they're watching her in the barn, bent over backwards. So just fun, like fun fact for you. Like it doesn't end there, but it took a while. It was like 2013 before the sequel, but in this one, I give full credit to Ashley Bell who played Nell because she's the one who had to sell it. Like if you didn't think she was scary or she was in any way really possessed, it wouldn't have worked. So she had to sell it, and I think she did a good job.
But also, like, there was a like the money grubbing like pastor or whatever. He went to that church or whatever and asked them, hey, will
Yeah,
you guys help? And at first, I really thought people like
yeah.
that's why it really threw me off because I was like, oh, church or whatever. And it seems like they actually care. Like, oh, we'll try to get her help. We'll try to get her to like a doctor and like see what's going on. And then they end up being freaking super evil. Um, so I feel like that's one of the things that really threw me off. But there was also like, oh, she's pregnant or something.
Yeah.
And at first, when they said pregnant, for some reason, I thought it was like by her dad, which is kind of messed up. But that was like the first thought that I had because her dad was kind of creepy. So I thought like maybe he was like abusing her and doing like I started thinking maybe she does just have mental problems and like it's from her dad like abusing her and doing things to her and her brother was creepy too. So I got really bad vibes from him. Um, so it seemed like both of them were really suspicious and
The
just
cat
really
was creepy too, by the way.
who?
The white cat.
Oh, the cat. Oh, I like the cat. Um,
They make you think they're gonna kill it, but the cat jumps at the camera.
no, she kills the cat. Remember?
Oh, she does. That's right. I'm sorry. You're
So
right.
I was upset. She killed the cat. I was like, that's not good.
Yeah, but
And she was like slaughtering all the animals and stuff too. And then she would like wake up with blood and be like, "What did I do?" Like she wouldn't even have memory. Um, and I've heard of that. There are people that have like what's like blackouts and stuff, and they do things they don't remember. I
yeah.
mean, hear about like serial killers and stuff do that. Um, where it's like, what I murdered people. So I mean, people can put that up to their own interpretation if that's like demonic or if that's like just mental issues. You know.
Hey, same with even alien abductions where people have no memory, wake up 5 hours have passed, and they think a minute's passed, and so. But yeah, they do a good job of setting up like so many options of what's going on and who's in the wrong. Is it her? Is it the people? Is it the parents? But you're a ride along character. You're following the pastor and what he's, like you said, he's trying to make a buck, and but then when he does think there's something real going on, he sticks around. Like they try and just help the girl and
Hmm.
try and get her out of there, and that ain't gonna work because you find out the cult is trying to bring a demon through her into the world, and you can more or less say it works, but and the fact that they do leave it, they end it on like a cliffhanger, like I said, it's just the priest. I say the priest, the pastor walking into the fire with his cross, and you don't see what happens. So, like, I kind of like that where it's an ambiguous ending to
Well, that
where
was also like kind of a weird thing too, because I was like, I thought he didn't believe in this. Like, why is he like, doing that?
well, that's the thing. I think you're to believe like all this made him believe.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess yeah.
He couldn't
Maybe
deny it after a while.
like well yeah when he saw like the satanic people or something, he's like, and then the demon in the fire, like he's like, okay, it is real. So I
And the
guess
stuff she was doing,
yeah.
like when he lays her down in the barn, and then she starts contorting, and uh, the images through her skin or the voices, typical
Yeah,
parts
but
of
I
an
guess
exorcism.
I'm just like one of those people that also like like being like I and stuff. So I feel like if you're just going around saying like, "Oh, I don't believe in God, I'm using it for money," like I don't feel like God's really gonna help you if you're just using Him. So like I was like, how's that even gonna help if he's like, he just like uses God like Santa Claus,
Yeah, they
something like
make. I took it to where he was an actual like a full preacher, and he thought making the fake part was easier. And so I like it that they set it up where the first, let's say half an hour maybe, but is like him showing that, yeah, when I press this button, this candle will fall over and water will shoot out of this cross. And, you know, they make it to where and then he has to find his faith because he has no choice. Like he wants to help the girl, and then
Hmm.
he could leave, but he's like, nope, nope. And to me, he refines his faith through all this, even though, like, yeah, you're fighting a demon. I don't care if you're religious or not. Like you're in for it. So like, there's they made the stakes high. I'll put it that way. Like,
Well, yeah, I mean, because I grew up around like the exorcisms and all that stuff, and basically, whenever they're like they're giving somebody exorcism, like everybody's there, like anybody can get hurt during those, and that's what happens. People die and stuff during those a lot of time.
well, the most famous cases, it ends up being, yeah, where the victim, I say the victim, but the person, quote unquote, being exercised will either be starved to death by accident or beat up by accident, like where they're just mistreated. But this can go all the way back to where they thought people with epilepsy were possessed by demons. And so I would have been killed a long time
Well, I
ago.
mean,
Haha.
like like people being thrown around and stuff,
Right?
like
Oh, no, that too. Yeah.
that's not good for anybody. But also, like a lot of time, even the priest and the people involved, like they get injured a lot of time because
Oh,
stuff will fly across the room. Like I know just from my parents and stuff doing exorcism, shit would fly at them and stuff like that. So like because my dad was like he was sort of like a half believer till he started doing those, and then he's like, okay, I believe now because it's like he almost got hurt. He would see stuff that he couldn't believe. Sort of like that fake pastor in the movie, like where
yeah.
he's kind of like, I don't know if I really believe, and then whenever he saw the stuff, then he's like, okay, I'm not gonna deny it now. Like it's real.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think the movie would have been different if a regular priest, like a regular, like you see in the movies, where a regular priest comes in and he battles the demon, where it's like, okay, fine. This took the approach of somebody who might have believed at one time is just profiting off of people who might be mentally ill, pretending it's an exorcism. That was a good way to do it. I think
Well, yeah, I
that's
think they were saying he's losing his faith or something, and then he's like, "Well, I'm still gonna be, a pastor no matter what, because he just that's all he knows, I guess, and that's how he
yeah.
makes money." Um,
But in the end, he gives his life for the situation. So I
yeah,
think that's why I enjoyed it more than the 20 other exorcism movies you can find, or even The Conjuring, where there's a couple who's into this, and or there's always somebody who knows what's going on.
mm,
This you're following people who have no idea. They didn't know the people. They weren't welcome in the town. The brother throws a rock at them when they're driving by, tells them to leave, and they stick with it. They don't give up, and I like that. I like that your protagonist. Yeah, they're kind of scummy because they're fake
yeah,
about it, but it starts with, okay, something's wrong. We got to get this girl out of here. Then, oh, there's something wrong. Literally, like there's something
mhm.
we can't explain, and then something's really wrong. Oh, I got to give my life for it. So I think that's what attracted me to the movie when I saw it. Like, this is different. They took a different approach. Maybe it would have been even better if it wasn't found footage at all, but that's the way they wanted to do it.
Well, I
So
wonder about like that weird cult or whatever. I wonder if he didn't reach out to them, would they even be involved at all or something? Like,
yeah.
um, was it just like, oh, we'll get permission so we could be there, and then like that was a mistake?
Well, I will say this for anybody who, and I recommend checking it out if you're a horror fan. But in the movie, they show him driving to like locations where it's a dirt road with a rundown cabin-looking house. I can tell you, there's many a street right outside New Orleans like that around here. because that's
Mhm.
where they literally went. And like, so when I watched it, I'm like, oh, I've seen those places, and it's very familiar. But you get that a lot, and that again was a nice change. Like uh, from the movie The Exorcist, they were in a nice home. Emily Rose, they were like in maybe an apartment. This was we're in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing nice about it, you know, and that might have added to it maybe. Like this, they made it drab and like the girl. Like I said, they gave her the Doc Martens. By the way, love the Doc Martens, but like they gave it to her in real life for insurance. But I like that in the movie where she didn't really have anything, and when the girl gave her those, she fell in love with them, but she never took them off. That was cool. And maybe just because I like Doc Martens, but and
Yeah.
they were red. I like that red.
Yeah. No, I like the dogs. I got some dogs.
Yeah, I've always wanted some, but they were like $200.
Yeah, no, they're expensive, but they're good. They'll last you like 30 years, so they're worth it.
I've always seen people when the bottom would like come off the boot, they would super glue that part back on.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
well, that's from like people jumping in the mosh pit. They would always get
They
messed up.
actually, since I got mine new and stuff, like you can actually buy them for a little bit extra broken in, like, but I didn't, pay the extras. So
Mm,
mine actually hurt my feet pretty bad. So I'm trying to still break mine in. Like it taking forever.
yeah, nothing worse than a new shoe. And a little spoiler and something else. Me and Max have an unboxing coming out soon, and I got me a new pair of Airwalks, and they're not comfortable off the bat. So,
Oh yeah. No,
but
it takes a minute to break them in, but whenever you do break them in, they're super comfortable. So you
yeah.
gotta break the shoes in, but you know
So let's go to our ratings. What would you give this out of 10?
what I give it out of 10. Probably an 8.5. Like I'd rate it pretty high. Because of like I I was interested. I stayed interested. At first I kind of was like, am I gonna stay like? Because when we watched The Forest, I kind of just it was like a drag for me.
Yeah,
But this one I kept wanting to know what was gonna happen. I was
yeah,
like, oh, okay, I need to see what happens to this girl. Um, and then you just feel really bad for her in a lot of ways. Like she's really the victim in like the movie.
yeah.
And then they rip out the baby and stuff too, and like throw it on fire. So that was pretty horrible. Like
That might have been a little much.
well,
They could,
yeah, it was just like traumatized. Like she's been
yeah,
through a lot.
they could have alluded to it and
Yeah,
like said that happened, maybe, or like
I
she
think
lost the
they
baby.
just they wanted that shock for you and stuff. Like they wanted people
Yeah,
to be.
it is Eli Roth, and he's known for his shock.
And
So,
also, they wanted people to be like, these people are really bad. Like, these are evil, satanic people. Um, so they wanted you to realize how evil they were. Um, because that was shock to me. It's like, oh, that's the pastors or whatever, and they're like wearing their hoods and stuff. That was pretty creepy. You know.
well, I'll go all the way to a 9, and for mostly the same reasons. Like, it does start off a little slowish, weird, where you don't know where it's going, or you think you know where it's going, but they add enough into it to make you want to watch. And again, I can't say enough that for me, the performance of Ashley Bell, who plays Nell,
Mhm.
where one, it's her first movie, and it's this kind of movie where she's leading the movie. Like, if she doesn't make it work, it's not going to work. It doesn't matter about the other people. So when she cries, you get upset. And when, because the pastor, you think he's scummy, but then he builds himself up back. A cult is a cult. You're never going to like that, but you feel the danger.
Well,
And
he was like trying to help though, which is a big deal because
yeah,
it wasn't like Rosemary's Baby where there's literally
right,
nobody to help her. Like even her
right.
husband's in on it. Like everybody's bad around you. Like that's like one of the most horrifying like situations I could think of. You go to the doctor, he's involved. You go to your husband, he's involved. Like everybody around you, like they were scumbags, but then they were actually trying to help in the end. Like you know.
Yeah. Well, I will say I was very happy that you liked it because you do know a bit about the exorcism field, and again, there's so many movies about this.
Hmm.
And I enjoyed Emily Rose because it was one of the newer ones, a little bit different. But if you type in exorcism horror movies, I guarantee you 20 will come up. But this one struck me, and maybe because I literally know where they filmed it, I've been to those areas, but that helped me where like they weren't too far in the middle of nowhere, but there was no help. Like you ain't gonna get a cop to come out there or anyone anytime quick. And they did take her to a doctor, so like it wasn't so far in the boonies where there was no outside help. But and as far as I know, like the phones always worked, right? So they didn't make it ridiculous, but it was the country, and sometimes like there's not much out there. But
Oh
yeah,
no.
and but
No, I was saying yeah, like definitely when you're out in the country, it can be really hard to get help. Like whenever like there's a serious emergency, like there's not gonna be any help right away at all. Like it's always gonna be a while. You know, that's kind of
mhm, that added to the tension. But that was like you said, that's the key where you want to see what's next. You want to overall see like, oh, like not only what's going to happen but why. Like
hmm
they make it abundantly clear at the end, like they were literally trying to bring a demon in this world, but the way they went about it, like most exorcism movies, it's just this person's possessed, boom. But this girl was a vessel for what's going on, and like I said, no big spoilers, but in the sequel, the demon does come back for her, and
mm.
they. But we'll get into that because as far as we've talked about, you definitely want to try the sequel, huh?
Yeah, Al.
Okay, well, we'll put that on the list and we won't get to it next, but stay tuned as we'll keep you posted on the situation of The Last Exorcism. This was part one, filmed in 2010, Eli Roth, and I had
Well,
to look.
also I'm just really familiar with like growing up around churches and stuff. I'm just familiar with like pastors that drive Bentleys and like they're just there for like the Benjamins, and then pastors that are generally like there because that's what they believe. Um, like I'm kind of familiar with that type of atmosphere too. So whenever like the movie started off with the guy just like, oh, I don't really believe in this, I was like, well, I know a lot of pastors like that too. That drive nice cars and they treat you like shit. And like if you ask them to pray for you, they ain't gonna do it. Like I've been around a lot of people like that. If you don't have money for them, they're not gonna help you. You know, but he didn't take the money and run, though, like you said.
Sorry?
So like that kind of did make you start feeling for him again.
Yeah, they set him up in a good way where he could have done it. I guess it wouldn't have worked if he left in the middle or anything, but he didn't
Towards
get
the end,
paid.
he could have left though. Like whenever they
Right.
said, "Oh, she's pregnant by this guy at the diner," like he could have just abandoned it. But he's like, "Something don't seem right. Let's go back."
Yeah, they added a cool element. I say cool, like the girl being pregnant wasn't cool,
Yeah,
but the element that they added in, like they at least thought of a good story to put behind this, to where it wasn't just the simple, like I maybe could have done without the cult, but I guess they needed a reason. Like it would have been weird, I
yeah.
guess, if
That's what
the
really threw me off. I didn't expect them to come back to that. I thought they were to come back and she killed everybody or something. Like that's what I thought.
yeah. I thought about that one, but in the end, I was like, well, I guess it would have been really weird if it just happened to her on a whim, you
Yeah.
know. So you needed something to add in there, but it made it more interesting. So it's not a big budget blockbuster hit movie, but that's the appeal to it. Sometimes horror movies are great when it's just you know run of the mill. It's not, I say no big explosions, but that fire at the end is pretty big. I'll give him
Yeah.
that. Like, and if anybody wants, if you check this movie out, check out the trailer for the second movie. It opens with him walking towards the fire with his cross, which again to me is the most iconic shot where it's like, oh wow, which is where the movie cuts off. And I don't think they even explain whatever
Wasn't
happens to
that
the
the
dog.
brother at the end though that hit the
Yeah,
gamer guy?
yeah. The
Yeah.
brother disappears and then he just pops out of nowhere. But that's a cool element. Like you don't know if he's in on it or he just is set up with the whole thing, but he
I
did a
thought
good job.
the brother was kind of involved in the cult stuff, but then the dad wasn't because remember they tied him to a tree.
Yeah. Well, to me, when the dad has a shotgun and he's like, either you fix it or I will, that was
Yeah, no,
like,
well, I didn't think the dad was a good guy, but I'm just saying like,
no, I'm saying that's
with,
when,
yeah,
that's the point where I knew he wasn't in on the cult, where it's like, you
yeah,
think for a little bit he's in on it and he's like, no, I'm just going to kill her if you don't help her. It's like, okay,
yeah.
well,
Well, the dad was he had some screws loose.
yeah. And the mom having died not too long before and being really close to the daughter, like almost really doesn't matter if that was in there or not, but it does matter because that's what kind of makes her unstable
Mhm.
and lets people manipulate her to at least like I say she's not involved, but you know, she seems like she knows something's wrong no matter what. But when they sit and talk to her for the first time, and she's just sitting there like, "Well, my mom was my best friend," and and she cracks a little smile. It's like, "Oh wow!" Like I said, her performance is 10 out of 10. Like I hope she does more. She hasn't done too much more after that. It was a movie or two, but this was her first one in 2010. So it's been 10 years. But when we get to the second one, I'll go into more about what she's been up to. But there's our assessment, everybody. The Last Exorcism, great movie, great horror movie, good to watch alone in the dark or with your loved one, or get a couple people together. But it's not like a big bombastic horror movie with great this bombing music and all this imagery. It's down to earth to where in some ways this could happen next door to you. It's not it's not like Freddy Krueger where you're like, okay, this can't happen, but this is you're like, oh wow, what if something close to this even happens? I like that fact, so I recommend it. And Hannah gave it an 8.5. I give it a 9, so highly recommended. And definitely check back later where we'll get to the second one, but we have a lot more in store when it comes to movies coming up.
Mhm. What?
No,
I don't know what else to say. Y'all. It was good.
no, I think we did a good job of setting it up, and I hope people check it out. And if you do, come back and find us in the comments of any of our videos and tell us what you thought. And we'll definitely be back for more. So stay tuned for more Theater Thursdays.
All right.
Bye, everybody.